What's going on? Welcome back to Movies Recapped. Today I found another hidden gem. Watch out and take care. At a baseball game, Gwen cheers for her brother, Finney, as he pitches. The batter, Bruce, misses the ball twice but hits a home run at the third pitch, thus, his team wins. After the game, Bruce compliments Finney, telling him that his arm is mint. Later, Bruce rides his bike but slows down when he spots a black van. Days later, Finney eats breakfast quietly, yet his father, Terrence, complains about his loud slurps. When Gwen opens the bread keeper, she accidentally drops the lid and quickly apologizes for the noise. As the siblings head to school, Finney notices the flyer for Bruce, who's been missing for days. They soon discover a fight between Robin and the school bully, Moose. Robin easily knocks down Moose and delivers punches, so the other kids cheer, but Finney pulls Gwen away. Gwen defends that Moose is a bully, so he deserves it. She also admires Robin for being the toughest kid in school since the grabber took their previous bully, Vance. Finney isn't comfortable talking about the grabber, so Gwen assures him that the rumor about the grabber taking kids who say his name isn't true. During science class, Finney plays with his rocket ship pen, then glances at his crush, Donna. After class, Finney notices bullies eyeing him, so he hurries to a restroom, but Buzz, Matt, and Maddie follow him there. Fortunately, Robin enters and starts talking about beating up Moose, scaring the others. Before they leave, Robin warns them not to bother Finney again. After they're gone, Robin advises his friend to stand up for himself. Finney asks why he fought with Moose, so Robin explains that he did it to make a stronger point. He then asks for help with math, complaining that their teacher talks too fast, and Finney agrees. Meanwhile, Gwen is summoned to the principal's office to talk to detectives Wright and Miller. They ask her about what she told Bruce's sister, so Gwen admits that she dreamt about Bruce getting taken by a man with black balloons. Wright reveals that they found black balloons at the scene where Bruce and another kid were taken. Those details were never released to the public, so they question where she heard about it. Wright is sure that Gwen is hiding something, so she confesses that her dreams are sometimes right. After school, Gwen leaves her brother to stay at a friend's house. That evening, Finney finds Terrence passed out, so he tidies up for him. Afterward, he eats ice cream while watching scary movies until he falls asleep. In the morning, Finney wakes up to Gwen screaming as their father whips her with a belt, blaming her for police questioning him at his workplace. Insisting that it's not her fault, the girl threatens to drop his liquor bottle if he hits her again. Terrence warns that if she does, he'll hit her twice as hard. Still, Gwen drops the bottle, breaking it and spilling its contents, so Terrence hits her again. Gwen cries as her father reminds her that she's not her mother who sees things that aren't there. He insists that her dreams are only dreams, and the frightened girl is forced to agree. Soon, Finney joins his sobbing sister to comfort her. Meanwhile, Robin heads to a store when he sees a man coming out of a black van. That evening, news about Robin's disappearance spread. Gwen expresses sympathy for her brother, who's worried about his friend. He asks if she can look into her dreams for Robin, but she reminds him that she can't control them. Still, Gwen prays to Jesus in her room to give her a clue to find Robin. When her father switches the lights on from the hallway, Gwen quickly goes to bed. Before going, he tells her he loves her, and Gwen says it back. Days later, with Robin not around to protect him, the bullies beat up Finney, and his sister quickly comes to his defense, smacking Maddie with a rock. She then fights Buzz, who throws her down. With her defeated, Buzz and Matt continue beating Finney up. In science class, the students are told to pick a partner, so everyone pairs up, leaving Finney alone. Donna, however, volunteers to be his partner. After school, Gwen teases him about Donna. She then parts ways with him to spend the night at a friend's house again. Soon, Finney walks on an empty path where he spots a man stumbling out of a black van, spilling his groceries. Finney offers to help, and the man introduces himself as a magician. He notices black balloons inside the van, so the man opens the door and pulls them out. However, he uses the balloons to trap Finney, who fights back by stabbing him in the arm with his pen. Still, the man sprays something into Finney's mouth and drags him inside the van. When Finney regains consciousness, the man tosses him on a bare mattress in a nondescript room. The grabber complains about his wounded arm but assures the kid that he won't hurt him anymore. Suddenly, a phone rings in the distance, so the grabber promises to explain everything when he returns. As soon as the grabber closes the door, Finney tries opening it, but it's locked. He then explores the room, finding another section with a toilet. Going back to the mattress, he notices a black phone on the wall, but it's disconnected. Soon, Terrence calls Gwen from her friend's house, asking where Finney is. Immediately, Gwen rushes out, knowing that her brother was taken. The police are soon alerted to his disappearance, and Gwen prays for her brother back. Finney wakes up to the phone ringing, so he checks it, but the grabber tells him it doesn't work. He promises to take Finney home soon, but he has to deal with something. Thinking that he's about to get caught, the boy promises not to tell the police anything if the grabber releases him. The grabber just laughs, saying that it's not about the police. Finney then figures that someone else is in the house, so he threatens to scream. The grabber tells him that he won't hear Finney when the door is shut, making the kid wonder who he is. After the grabber leaves, Finney starts screaming, though the room is soundproof. He tries to reach the window, but it's too high. Suddenly, the phone rings, so he picks it up but hears no one. Later, as he sleeps, he hears a creaking sound from the phone. He jumps when he realizes that the grabber is watching him. Finney asks for food, but the man says he can't give him food yet. The boy asks why he's there, so the grabber admits that he wanted to look at him. Soon, Finney wakes up to the phone ringing again. He answers it, and a boy's voice calls him by his name. Freaked out, Finney hangs up and backs away, but the phone rings again. He answers it, and the voice tells him not to hang up. The boy tells him he doesn't remember his name because it's the first thing they lose when they die, but they've met before, and Finney's arm was mint. This makes Finney realize that the boy is Bruce. Finney asks if the phone rang for him, so Bruce says it did for all of them, but only Finney heard it. The grabber also hears the phone, but he doesn't believe it. Bruce then instructs him to find a loose tile where he can dig a tunnel through the dirt. Meanwhile, Gwen dreams about Bruce's life before seeing Finney screaming inside a house. She heads out in the middle of the night to look for the house while Finney finds the loose tile and starts digging. When he gets tired, he flushes the dirt into the toilet and covers the hole with the carpet. The next day, the grabber brings Finney breakfast but doesn't lock the door when he leaves. Before he could go out, the phone rings and a new voice warns him that it's a trap. Billy's ghost appears next to him, though Finney doesn't see him. Billy warns that the grabber is waiting for him upstairs to punish him for trying to escape. He recounts that they all suffered the same fate before ending the call. Despite this, Finney cautiously goes upstairs but senses the grabber waiting for him. Instead, he returns downstairs and eats. Later, Billy calls again but insists that he's no longer Billy. As the ghost gets agitated, Finney sees his soda bottle shaking by itself. He then points out the crack on the wall, noting that he tore a cable loose from there. Finney asks what he'll do with it, and the bottle points to the window. Meanwhile, Gwen dreams about Billy delivering the newspapers when the grabber took him. Finney soon finds the cable and uses a rolled carpet to loop it around the bars. Then, he starts climbing and tries opening the window, but the bars break, causing him to crash back onto the floor. That evening, Gwen asks her father about her dreams. Terrence shares that her mother also had dreams that she believed were true, but the dreams told her to do terrible things, so she took her own life. Concerned about his daughter suffering the same fate, he asserts that the dreams aren't real. Still, Gwen thinks her dreams can help her find Finney. This makes Terrence reconsider, so he helps Gwen search for the house in her dreams, hoping that they'll find his son. Soon, the police visit the home of Max to ask him about the boy. Max immediately invites them inside, revealing that he's also investigating the abductions. He rambles about the kids being taken on the way home from school, except for Robin, who was taken on a Saturday afternoon. Max insists that the abductor has a house and a garage so he can take the kids out of his car unseen. With this thought, he points out the general area where he believes the abductor lives. Miller and Wright aren't interested in his claims and just question him, so Max reveals that he's new in town and is staying in his brother's house. As they leave, Miller advises Max to tidy up before his brother returns, pointing out the substances on the coffee table. As Max snorts the powder, Finney is still trapped in the basement just below him. Soon, the grabber arrives with food and asks his name, explaining that he usually reads the boys' names from the papers, but things aren't going right this time. When Finney gives a fake name, the man drops the food and tosses him a newspaper, revealing that he already knows his name. The grabber claims that he would have let Finney go before walking out, leaving the door unlocked again. Before Finney can open the door again, the phone rings, but no one talks. Upstairs, the grabber fights to keep awake while waiting for Finney. Instead, the boy gathers the spilled food to eat, then goes to sleep. Later, he wakes up to the sound of dripping, so he checks around, only to find a dead body hanging in midair with blood dripping on the floor. The body then points to the phone, so Finney picks it up. A new voice warns Finney that the grabber has stopped sleeping since he thinks his brother might figure it out. Finney recognizes the voice as another victim, Griffin. Griffin laments that he was invisible when he was alive, then everyone knew his name after he died. Finney asks why the grabber hasn't killed him, so Griffin reveals that it's because he hasn't played the game, preventing the man from beating him and moving on to the next part. Griffin reveals that the grabber has just fallen asleep, adding that he's using his old bike lock for the storm door. He doesn't remember the combination, but he carved it on the wall. Finney searches for the numbers on the wall and musters up the courage to go outside. Quietly, he heads upstairs and finds the grabber asleep in the kitchen. He sneaks past him and finds the lock. After a few tries, he gets the right combination, but a dog starts barking, waking up the grabber. Finney runs outside while the man gets into his van to chase after him. The grabber blocks his path and tackles him to the ground. Seeing neighbors switching on their porch lights, he threatens to gut Finney if he makes another sound. They wait in silence until the neighbors switch their porch lights off, so the grabber knocks the boy out and tosses him back on the mattress. The next day, Gwen wakes up and asks Jesus why he didn't give her dreams last night. This makes her consider that her father was right about her dreams. Finney wakes up to the phone ringing, but when he answers, a new voice talks to him. He recognizes the voice as Vance, the previous school bully. Vance's ghost appears behind him, warning him that today's the day he's been dreading. At the same time, Gwen dreams about the day Vance got arrested for beating 2 kids at the store, but she also hears his conversation with Finney on the black phone. The police car transporting Vance stops in front of a house, and Gwen sees the house number before waking up. Back at the room, Vance tells Finney that the storage room is on the other side of a wall, but there's a freezer blocking it. He instructs Finney to break the wall, remove the panel to get into the freezer, then climb out into the storage room. Finney thanks him for helping him, but Vance's ghost yells that it's about revenge. His anger echoes in the room, smashing a bottle right next to Finney. Once things calm down, Finney does as Vance instructed. Throughout the day, he breaks the wall until he finds the panel at the back of the freezer. After removing it, Finney heads inside but can't open the door as it's locked from the outside. Tired, Finney finally breaks down until the phone rings again. On the other end is Robin, who refuses to let him suffer the same fate. Robin calls him a fighter as he always gets back up after taking a punch. He starts teaching Finney how to throw a punch and tells him to fill the receiver with dirt to use it as a weapon. He reveals that this is the last call, so he urges Finney to use what they gave him to escape. The two then say goodbye before Finney hangs up. As Robin suggested, Finney fills the receiver with dirt and creates a tripwire using the cable. Meanwhile, Gwen searches the houses again when she sees the ghosts of the grabber's victims. This makes her fall off the bike, but she sees that she stopped at the house she's been looking for. Immediately, she goes home and calls the detectives. Wright and Miller head out while Max notices how his brother's house is in the area where he figured the grabber might be. Soon, Finney hears creaking from the phone and sees the receiver moving. Then, the lights turn on, so Finney grabs the receiver, ready to fight. Instead, Max enters, stunned that his brother was the grabber all along. To Finney's horror, the grabber returns and swings an axe at his brother's head. Finally, the detectives arrive at the house, finding Gwen waiting outside. As the detectives go to investigate, the grabber confronts Finney, blaming him for his brother's death. After retrieving the axe, the grabber calls his dog, who snarls at the boy. Meanwhile, the police break into the house, only to find it empty. The grabber sets his dog's leash near the door, then swings the axe at Finney. The boy dodges and leaps to the path to the toilet. When the grabber chases him, he pulls the cable, making him trip into the pit that he dug up. The grabber's foot breaks on the window bars on the bottom, getting him stuck. Finney punches him with the phone, but the man grabs him and puts him in a chokehold. While fighting back, the boy removes the grabber's mask, making him panic. This allows Finney to strangle him with the phone's cord. Suddenly, the phone rings, so Finney puts the receiver on the grabber's ear. From there, he hears his victims mocking him until Finney snaps his neck. Finally, Finney uses meat from the broken freezer to distract the dog, allowing him to walk up the stairs. At the same time, an officer notices a hidden basement door in the other house. Inside, they discover where the grabber buries the victims. Meanwhile, Finney walks out of the house, and Gwen spots him from across the street. Quickly, she hugs him just before the police run to him. Soon, Terrence finds them and hugs his son. He begs his kids for forgiveness for how he's treated them, and the siblings take comfort in being reunited again. That evening, Reich reports how the grabber owned both houses across the street from one another. One house was where he kept the victims alive, and the other was where he buried them. Days later, Finney returns to school, where all the kids, even his former bullies, watch him in awe. In science class, he sits next to Donna, feeling more confident than ever before. Hope you enjoyed it. Consider subscribing, it is free. Cancel anytime.